Alrighty, hello and thank you for joining me. So this is my statistics project for my summative. So the topic that I chose for my summative was immigration, and I decided to do net immigration rate versus minimum wage. So net immigration rate in all of Canada, so that's my independent variable, over the past 35 years per 1,000 population, and then my dependent variable is minimum wage in Ontario and Manitoba 35 years prior, and then the symbol for that is obviously money. So my two stratas are Manitoba and Ontario, and then my kind of hypothesis was the higher the minimum wage would attract more foreign workers, therefore more people immigrating to the given province. So I chose to research immigration in Canada over the past 35 years in comparison to the minimum wage rates in Canada. The strata I divided into dependent variables by province were Manitoba and Ontario. And the reason why I did that is that they're both in like very contrast to each other, because Ontario is a very populated province compared to Manitoba, and Ontario is one of the provinces that has high immigration rates. So we'd want to see like the effect of both of them. So I used net immigration rate, which is the rate of the number of people coming in, subtracting the number of people leaving. So the number of immigrants in Canada have increased in the past few years, and I want to see how that affects minimum wage, because most of them work minimum wage jobs. So I want to explore that topic a little bit more and see if there's a relationship there that helps give us insight more on like the Canadian workforce and Canadian immigration, and something that benefits new immigrants as well. Because research like this helps the government think of more incentives to help people or provinces that have lower immigration rates, and since Canada already has a declining birth rate, it would make sense. Okay, so let's get to the graphs. Let's get to the graphs. There we go, we're getting to the graphs. Oh, wrong graph. Yep, so minimum wage in Manitoba over a period of time, so I have my frequency on the vertical axis there, and I have my minimum wage down there with the prices. So as you can see here for this histogram, it's slightly right skewed distributed because the majority of the data is presented leans towards the right side. And I used the mean for this because, as you can see, the minimum wage for Manitoba and Ontario, they do look similar, although Ontario does look a bit higher. I have my frequency there, and I have my minimum wage at the bottom. This one I would say was harder to identify. I was going to say right skewed, but it doesn't look completely right skewed to me. It could also be a non-symmetrical binomial distribution. But yes. Now let's move on to my box and whiskers graph. So this is my box and whiskers graph for Ontario minimum wage. So as you can see, most of the data here is beyond the mean, so it's in quadrant 4 and 5, and then we have maybe like a little bit of an outlier, but not much. And then looking to minimum wage in Manitoba, it's about the same thing. Most of the data is beyond the mean, and they look pretty similar to me, probably because federal budgeting is around the same. So now here we're getting to my last graph, which is minimum wage versus net migration in Canada. So some interesting stuff that I found about this graph is that it has, I would say, like a slightly moderate positive correlation. That means that there's somewhat of a connection between Manitoba, Ontario, and net immigration, but not enough of a strong positive one to be sure. But if you can see here on the graph, minimum wage and net migration are slightly corresponding. Minimum wage in Ontario and minimum wage in Manitoba kind of follow each other across the line of best fit. Most of the points are near the best fit line, I would say, so it's like moderate positive correlation at best, which means that they're kind of grouped together, but not really. Overall, I would say I found somewhat of a correlation in my findings and research. Alrighty. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate it very much that you took your time out of your day to listen to me and my research. And I hope everybody has a lovely day. Thank you very much.